Chinese propaganda is literally brainwashing us right now. If you're from Australia, you probably have watched this video multiple times in different social media platforms. Before I say anything about it, let me show you this video.
I'll name one and you just nod. China. Yeah, okay. And what exactly are we protecting?
Strategic interests.
Specifically, Colonel?
Indo-Pacific strategic
Again,
interests.
Brigadier, really specifically.
Indo-Asia Pacific strategic
You know what?
interests.
I'll say it and then you nod. Our trade routes. Yeah? And who is our number one trading partner?
Shall we use the nod system?
Sure. China? Yeah. So under this scenario, we're spending close to $30 billion a year to protect our trade with China from China. And that doesn't strike anyone at this table as odd?
This video is from a very popular Australian TV show, Utopia. I haven't watched this TV show, but it kind of looks similar to The Office. I'm quite sure that it is not a propaganda piece by China, but it shows how well CCP has planted their ideas in feeble minds of Australian people. Or maybe I'm just an idiota who is overanalyzing everything and just being a schizo right now. Either of those cases, I'm going to debunk the point that writer was trying to make there. And to do that, I have to prove that China is important, but not the most important trading partner of Australia. And I have to defend the massive $36 billion defense budget. So let's see how important China really is for Australia. Oh my gosh, China is the largest trading partner of Australia? Who could have seen that coming? Okay, I'm just joking. I saw that coming. But before we go to a different stat, I want you to focus on this little thing. Australia enjoys bigger trade surplus with Japan than China. Remember this thing. You will need it in your Goldman Sachs interview. Those are smart people job, you know. I really don't know what they really do. I just know those are smart people. I don't know. Bunch of posh people sitting down, maybe playing with some number and stuff. I don't know. Comparing China with other Asia-Pacific country isn't an apple-to-apple comparison. It is not fair to compare a country economically with China when it has 1/12 of the population of China. And most of the other country in that region probably gonna have less than 1/12 of that population. So to make this comparison fair, let's compare China with rest of Asia-Pacific. And if you consider that China is literally militarily threatening most of the Asia-Pacific countries, then this comparison became more fair. The data I'm going to show you in a second, those are taken from amount and value of shipments of physical goods in 2022 provided by Australian government. These data only include touchable goods, not services. And in this data, Russia and North Korea has been secluded because they have very good relation with China. So let's say the Australia's trade interest in a bigger picture. You can see that Australia import 24% more goods from Asia Pacific than China, and export 61% more than it export to China. And always remember, exports are more important because it makes money and pays your salary. And when it is about total trade, then Australia trade 46% more with Asia Pacific than China. And if we include India in this equation, then things get even worse for China. Total export is 77% more than China, and total trade is 60% more than China, though it doesn't really make the comparison fair. Like India has a humongous population. But when India have the same kind of beef with China like those other countries, then it makes more reasonable to add India in the equation. And India will not become a behemoth like China anytime soon, but they are growing very fast. And their untapped market is something to be considered by the Australians because there are so much money to be made there. But let's come back to our fair comparison. Now the question is, trading with whom is much more beneficial for the Aussies? To answer that, let's look at their trade surplus. Trade surplus is simply mean how much more you export than you import. So yeah, nothing complicated. Australia enjoys 54% trade surplus with China. That is extremely good in its own rights. But Australia also enjoy more than 100% trade surplus with Asia Pacific. That is insane. If you include India in the equation, then the surplus grow even bigger. This stats doesn't include services. If it was included, then the data would be a little bit different. Numbers would be a little bit different. But even if I did that, it would lean toward Asia Pacific because of China's language barrier and because of their self-sufficient, they do not require that much services from Australia compared to other Asia Pacific countries like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan and Singapore. Now when I've proved that China is important but not the most important trading partner, now it is time to prove that $36 billion defense budget. Oh boy, it is going to be tough. Nah, I'm kidding. Whether it is a math problem or a grammar with definitely not fake Windows problem, we Indians can solve it all. Total Asia Pacific, that includes China, is the most important economic partner of Australia. But China is a very bad actor in the region. They want to dominate the region economically and militarily. China simply want to eat up smaller country economically, and in case of Taiwan, they want to eat it literally. And China has nasty business practices like subsidizing their corporation so that they can lower their product price in a point that is not possible without those subsidies. They do it to outcompete their competition in other small countries. They have still technologies from those small countries, and those small countries are not strong enough to enforce any kind of copyright laws on a regional powerhouse like China. Now those small countries has found their own way to defend their businesses and their jobs by putting tariff on Chinese product, or maybe subsidizing their own businesses, or maybe both. And China is not loving it, and they're using their military to show who is the real boss and who those countries should listen to. If China succeed in their goals of dominating the whole region and destroy the manufacturing in those small countries, it is a bad news for Australia. Now there is a small details that I haven't tell you guys yet. It is small but very important. Australia's export mostly consists of raw materials and gas and coal and stuff what are used in manufacturing products. And if countries in Asia Pacific lose their manufacturing, then Australia is going to lose their export market. It is not good for Australian economy, and it will destroy the Australia's export market diversity. Diversity of export partners are very important for economic security. Like if China found a new mineral deposit in Tibet, not in China, in Tibet, or maybe find a better deal in Africa by bribing their politicians, get a lower cost in minerals and lower their export from Australia by 30%, it is going to hit Australian economy badly. Now let's come to the import. If China successfully destroy manufacturing in other small countries, then Australia will become more dependent on Chinese export, what they're extremely dependent on already. This will help China to have a huge political influence on Australia. Suppose a journalist is making a report on Chinese offshore police station on Australia. In that case, China can put pressure on Aussie politicians to put that journalist behind the bars, or a very important medical supply will be cut off. That is a very bad scenario that Australian people don't want to be in. To prevent this kind of scenario ever happening, you need a strong military to keep Indo-Pacific free from Chinese domination. Yes, Australia cannot do it alone. They need military partnerships and alliances. I will make a different video about it next time, I guess. So, things are very simple. Without that military spending, Australian people will lose their jobs and lose their freedom. So yeah, that $36 billion spending is 100% worth it. Thanks for watching, and to get a different perspective in world politics, subscribe and ring the bell. Bye.